In this section of the video, I'm now going to take you through the website and show you where you can get everything you need from the website, from a step-by-step taking you through how to play the game, as well as the banking and other functionality. The first thing you need to do is use Google Chrome as your browser, as this performs best for my website. Type in www.reallifeforkids.com, press enter, and this will take you to the main home page. Just to navigate our way through that, you're on the home page, member login, about the game, member schools, there's a brief gallery for your children to have a look at, and then of course our contact details. The first thing you're going to do as the teacher is you're going to hover your cursor over the member login tab and click on the teacher login drop down. Here you'll enter a username and your password that has been issued to you, and then you log in. This takes you to what is called the teacher dashboard, and we have some modules, curriculum, and other things that need to go through. I'm going to start with the game modules. You're going to click on that, and up come the 12 game modules. The blue modules are optional modules. However, to play the game in its most fundamental form, you have to do the red modules. The blue modules won't change the game in any way, but will only enhance it. What you will find is as you get better, you will add more and more blue modules year on year as you become more confident with the game. You will notice module 8 is a blue module, but I really do recommend it because it's a nice cross-curricular module where we do speeches and elect mayors. Each module has associated drop-down. So you will start the game with module 1 and you will click on the first drop-down, which is getting started. Here it will show you exactly what you need to do in terms of lesson instructions, what downloads you need to download, etc., so that you can start the game effectively. The downloads associated with getting started, for example, will be the game rules. This will be your starting point for the game. Hand out a copy to each child in the class and go through them as a group. The children can also access these game rules from their login, so they can refer to them if they have any questions. The same goes with module 2. This explains how to operate a cash book. It has the lesson plan up front, as well as the exercise where you can practice doing the cash book. It has the answers there for you as a teacher, and then finally we have a blank cash book. I recommend once again doing modules 1 and modules 2 in the final week before you start the game in the previous term. The next red module is the jobs and medical aid. Here it outlines what the jobs are. It has a bus fare register, a fines register, and a medical fees register. I'll show you an example of that now. So, for example, if they are the doctor for that week, they'll have to take this form, write the date, the patient's name, what illness they had, whether they had medical aid, and then the amount that they owe. Each job has an associated register, with the exception of the postman who does all the errands for you as a teacher. Moving through the website, we get to module 4. It's the first optional module, the bridge project and the driver's license. You don't have to do the bridge project. However, as you can see here, there's the bridge design competition, a resource for the teacher in terms of bridge building and design. We have the driver's license handbook, the driver's license test, the driver's license answers that are available only to the teacher, and then finally the driver's license card. I'll show you an example of what the driver's license handbook looks like. So here, for example, is the driver's license booklet. It takes the children through the controls of the vehicle, the rules of the road, what to do in the case of accident, road traffic signs, the road warning signs, and then roadwork signs. Once they've learnt this, they can then approach the teacher, where the teacher can then download the test and give it to them to do. The next phase in the execution of the game would be module 5, a red module, where it's auctioning land, how to auction land, building a home, and hawking goods. Here, it'll tell you exactly how to do the auction, what the housing restrictions are, as well as the hawker's license. Remember, now that they have a home, they can now hawk goods for cash. There's the deeds register where you'll record who owns what piece of land on the board. Here's a house insurance form as well as a hawker's license. And then, of course, to put on your gabble and gossip at the back is a city map. Here it'll tell you exactly where each property goes and what's required on each space. What I recommend, you print that off, blow it up to A3, laminate it, and put it on your gabble and gossip or section at the back of your classroom so the children can see where things go on the game. As we move through to another red module, this is the tender section. Here, it'll tell you how to build the city, how to do the tenders, which tenders are available, and finally, the tender forms that the children need to fill in. Now we get to a string of blue modules, that is the businesses as well as the disasters. Although disasters are not compulsory, I do recommend them because they provide a little bit more excitement in the game. But here are all the businesses, how to run the businesses, and the separate licenses and what they can and can't charge for. Module 8 is electing a mayor and councillors. This tells them how to do the speech. I have included a rubric for you if you'd like to use it. And then finally, the secret ballot sheet that you can download. Module 9 is the stock exchange. This outlines what the stock exchange is about, what companies are up for sale, what they cost, and then finally, the share certificate where they can purchase shares and register their share ownership. Module 10, we move to the buyback. Here it'll tell you exactly how to do the buyback, as well as a copy of the assets register that each child has to fill in. I've also included an assets register example so that you can see how the assets register is put together. Once we've done the buyback, we then move to module 11, which is tax. Here it'll tell you how to do the tax form. It'll give you a tax return as well as an example of how to fill in the tax return. Our final downloads for the game would be the end, is for the certificates and winners. And here are the range of certificates. We have a community-minded certificate, a creativity certificate, a financial certificate, a green team certificate, a participation certificate, and then finally, for your convenience, a generic certificate. It's important to understand that I haven't called these modules weeks. I've called them modules for a reason, because you don't need to do them weekly. You don't need to feel pressure that if you haven't done one module in a week, that you need to move on to another. They're very fluid. You can take as long as you need to do it, but obviously the game needs to be impactful, so I'd recommend a total of about 16 to 17 weeks maximum from start to finish from the game. You may have to leave some modules out because of time pressures, but if you can do them all, it'll just enhance the game's offering. I'm now going to go back to the dashboard, and I can do that by just clicking on Dashboard Home, and it'll take me back to the dashboard. So that really is a step-by-step modulated way of walking yourself through the game. You can also find everything that you find on the website in your training manual if you'd like a hard copy. The next thing I'm going to show you, and probably the most critical, is the banking. If you hover your cursor over the banking tab, you'll see that there's an option to deposit, withdraw, pay salaries, view statements, and finally you'll be able to see who's winning or who's got the most money in the game. I'm going to start off with deposits. A group of kids would like to now put money into the bank because they've earned cash from various teachers, and now they'd like to make a deposit. So what you can do is you log onto the website, you hover your cursor over the banking tab, and you click on deposits. This will then give you a full list of all the pupils in your class. They can line up and then make the cash deposits as they wish. So for example, Laura Watts would like to make a cash deposit of 56 Rand. Nina Wiley would like to make a cash deposit of 32 Rand. And so on. You work through all the children that need to make deposits. You take the cash from them, you put it into your Real Life for Kids money box, and you scroll down right to the bottom and you click deposit. That money now will be taken from them and put into their bank accounts. I'm just going to jump ahead a little bit now because I want to show you, by looking at their bank statements, we can see the money they have in their accounts. So go down to View Statements, click on View Statements. Here it'll take you to the next screen where you can select the pupil whose statements you'd like to look at. Click that drop-down menu there. And we're going to have a look at Laura Watts because we selected her. Click on her name. You have an option here to look at the payments done in the last day, in the last week, in the last month, in the last 3 months, in the last 6 months, and in the last year. I'm going to click on 1 week because I'm going to be doing some transactions. What you'll see now is her name, Laura Watts. Her balance is 56 Rand. The date, there was a credit of a cash deposit, an amount of 56 Rand, so her balance is 56 Rand. The other child that made a deposit was Nina Wiley. Once again, we'll have a look for this week. There it is, the date. There's a credit for cash of 32 Rand, and her balance is therefore 32 Rand. That money then stays in their accounts. If you'd like to print off their bank statement, you just click on the print button and it'll print out a copy of the bank statement for you. Similarly, if they'd like to take money out of the bank, all you need to do is hover your cursor over the banking. Once again, go down to Withdrawals and click on it. And the same kind of screen will come up, except this time they're withdrawing money. Use Laura Watts as an example again. She needs some cash. She's going to withdraw 15 Rand, and Nina Wiley is going to withdraw 17 Rand. Take all the withdrawals that you need. The kids can line up and you can do them one by one. I will then give them the cash. Scroll down to the bottom and click on the withdrawal button. Once again, I'm going to jump ahead to the View Statements. I'm going to have a look at their bank statements. I'm going to select the pupil, Laura Watts. I'm going to look at it for 1 week. And now we can see she made a withdrawal of a debit of 15 Rand. So now her balance is only 41 Rand. That money has now been removed from her account. I'm going to show you Nina Wiley as well. She made a withdrawal, which is a debit of 17 Rand. So her balance now stands at 15 Rand. I'm going to go back to the dashboard. At the end of the week, you are going to now need to pay salaries to all the pupils. Remember, if they weren't at school for that day, they don't get paid. Also remember, if they had a job, they get paid an additional 20 Rand for that job for that week. And finally, they get 10% interest on their money after they've been paid a salary. Luckily, the system does that for you. I go on to banking. You click on Pay Salaries. This will take you to a page where all the students in your class are listed. On the left-hand side will be the pupil's name. In the middle, it automatically assumes that all the children are there for the 5 days of the week. It defaults to that number. And then finally on the right here, it has an option in a drop-down version to choose a job. Because we were dealing with Laura Watts and Nina Wiley, I'm going to continue to do that, but I'm going to make some other changes. Let's say, for example, Alexander Brinson was absent for 1 day. All we need to do is click on the days button, click backspace, and put in 4 days. Holly Jerome, she was also absent, but she was absent for 2 days, so I'm only going to put in 3 there. And now our various jobs. Okay, nobody else was absent. Now we can look at our various jobs. Laura Watts was the bus conductor. Nina Wiley was the journalist, etc. You fill all of those in. At the end of it, you'll click Pay Salaries. We can once again go back to our bank statement and have a look at the statements to see how they've been affected. Scroll down to View Statements and click on that. Once again, we're going to start with Alexander Brinson. He was absent for a day, and let's have a look at what his statement looks like. On today's date, he received a salary credit of 80 Rand, so his balance was 80 Rand. On the same day, he got 10% interest on 80 Rand, which is 8 Rand, which is added to his total, which gives it 88 Rand. Now, let's have a look at our girl, Laura Watts. You'll see that original cash deposit that we made right at the beginning of 56. She then withdrew 15, which gave her 41. She then earned a salary of 100 Rand, which brought her balance to 141 Rand. We then paid her for being the bus conductor for 5 days, an additional 20 Rand, which gave her 161 Rand. And rounded off on that is an interest of 16 Rand, which added to her balance gives her 177 Rand. We look at Nina Wiley, and I'll take you through those steps again. Originally, she made a cash deposit of 32 Rand. Her balance was 32. She then withdrew 17 Rand, so her balance was 15. She was then paid a salary of 100 Rand and had a balance, therefore, of 115 Rand. We paid her 20 Rand for being the journalist for the week, which gave her a balance of 135 Rand, and 135 Rand rounded off to the nearest Rand. 10% of that is 14 Rand, which added to that gives you 149 Rand. The system is really easy to use and does all the calculations for you. All you need to do is enter the information. It takes approximately 5 to 6 minutes. The next phase of the banking, I've shown you the view statements. You can have a look at those at any time. You can print them off. The children can also look at their bank statement through their username and password, and they can print them off too to show proof of payments. The final tab is really a convenience tab for the teacher. It ranks the children from the children with the most money to the children with the least. I'm going to click on that tab over there now. And you'll see, obviously, because I've been working with Laura Watts, she has a balance of 177 Rand. Her and Nina Wiley are first and second, while all the other children, 110 Rand, except for those children that were absent, and that's Alexander Brinson and Holly Jerome, who had less in their accounts. If you remember, Holly was absent for 3 days, so she only got 60 Rand salary plus 6 Rand interest, which gave her a balance of 66 Rand. I wouldn't reveal this to the children at any time. However, children often forget what they have in their bank account, and this is a really nice way to quickly see how much they have instead of having to go into each individual account. The next thing I want to show you, which is on offer, which I will mention in the tips and hints video, is I have a full academic curriculum available to you where we look at the history of money and banking. Here we look at early forms of money, the history of money, bartering in money, and coins in banking. We also look at the development of towns and cities from basic castles to modern cities. We look at how towns are run. We look at the South African budget. We look at the South African legal system. And finally, we look at the South African Stock Exchange. About 17 to 19 hours of worksheets available to you, plus the answers if you'd like to use them either in your social sciences lessons, in your life skills lessons, which provides a nice academic foundation for the game. Use them or not, it's up to you. Another nice little feature here is our quick forms button. Just hover your cursor over it and you'll see you have all the forms that you require to give to kids at any moment. So instead of having to go into the module that you need, find the form, here's a nice quick way of getting any forms. A kid might come to you and say they want a hawker's license. You can find hawker's license there, click on it, you can print that off. They can also do that themselves from their login. Finally, there's an example of the map of the board, which I have shown you already, but just a quick access point for you to reference if you need to know where anything goes on the board. One final feature, which is important, it will say here, do you want to receive email notifications of transactions? If you say yes, you need to enter your email address here, and any transactions that pupils make, an email will be sent directly to you. Depending on what kind of teacher you are, that's up to you. But this will send you a notification of every transaction of the kids in your class. Also very important, you may want to play around with the banking a little bit before you launch the game. You can do that. You can make deposits, you can make withdrawals, whatever you need to do. Just at the end, go back to your dashboard, and over here it says reset balances, and just click on there, reset. It will warn you, and if you'd like to reset the balances, just click OK. Okay, I'm now going to show you how the kids can use the website to pay for things via EFT, etc. Go on to Member Login, hover your cursor over the top, and then click on the Player Login tab. Here, the players will put in their username and passwords. It's critical at this point for me to remind you that their usernames and password need to be memorized and kept confidential. Right, you'll see that the children don't have as many options as you, obviously. The first place I'm going to go to is the Go Banking. Click on the Go Banking. Now, here you'll see the child's name, how much money they have in their account, and then they have some options. They can pay the bank, they can pay a player, and they can view their bank statement. Start with paying the bank. There's certain things that the children will need to pay for, and they may not have cash on hand. If they have that option, they can then go to their computer or tablet and they can pay via EFT. So for example, after we did the auction, the children were required to pay for their land using the internet. They'd log in, go to this, and then they'd say pay the bank. They'd look down these options here. There's a whole lot of things they can pay for, and they would select pay for land. It then gives them an option to write in how much they had to pay, and let's just say Laura had to pay 115 Rand for her land. She types that in, then clicks pay. It'll give her a brief confirmation saying Laura Watts, amount paid 115 Rand, and her balance now is only 116 Rand. It'll say an email has been sent to the teacher as confirmation that a payment has been made if you have selected that option. She can now look at her bank statement, and there it'll say land 115 Rand, her balance now is only 116. She can print that off, give it to her teacher as a proof of payment. Similarly, I'm going to go back to the dashboard. If, for example, a child has to pay a fine and they don't have the money to pay the fine, they can do it via EFT. They can go down to the fine option, click it there, and pay their fine online. And just click pay. Her balance now is only 111 Rand. You will notice there are some hardwired amounts. For example, if I wanted to buy medical aid, we know that medical aid costs 30 Rand. If I click on medical aid, it'll immediately hardwire the amount into the page. And all they need to do then is click play. They can also pay each other within their own classes. What they can do now is they just click on pay a player. And let's just say Laura Watts owes Nina Wiley something for whatever reason. She might have loaned her money and now is claiming interest. She may have bought something at a hawker's license day and she needs to pay it, but she didn't have the cash. So Laura needs to pay Nina Wiley. We're going to say for chocolate brownies, an amount of 5 Rand, and we then say pay. What this will do now will debit Laura's account and credit Nina's account. I'm going to briefly show you, well, let's first have a look at what Laura's account looks like. It'll have the debit on it. There it is there. A payment to Nina Wiley for chocolate brownies, 5 Rand, and it's been removed from her account. If I quickly log in now as Nina Wiley, and we go banking with her, and the first thing we do is we view her statement. There'll be a credit here from Laura Watts on today's date, payment from Laura Watts for chocolate brownies, 5 Rand, which brings her balance now to 236 Rand. Very easy, very user-friendly, and very simple. The next thing available to the pupils are some gameplay downloads. All they need to do is hover their cursor over the tab, and there they can access a copy of the game rules. If they're the doctor, the fees register they require, as well as the schedule of medical fees. If they're the policeman, there's the fines register. If they're the bus conductor, there's the register for him. There's a tender form, what tenders are available. Of course, the driver's license handbook, a tax form. If they're the journalist, they have a little balance sheet there, as well as the final assets register. They can download those and print them off at their leisure. The final thing I've included for the kids are links. Here, they click on links and it takes them to other websites where it gives them some idea on how to construct paper houses. So for example, they can click on this site over here, it'll reroute them to another site and it'll give them some inspiration on how to build different kinds of houses. There are a range of different websites that they can access and use at their leisure. I think it's important that you take the children through the site, show them how to bank, show them how to make withdrawals, show them how to make deposits, show them how to look at their cash book and their bank statement at any time. Spend half an hour doing that, do some false transactions, and then clear it on the home page as I showed you earlier. It's important to note that the game is also available in Afrikaans to those children and teachers who are Afrikaans speaking. The way you'd access your site is exactly the same through the member login. If you're a teacher, you click on the teacher login, put in your username and password, and this will direct you to the Afrikaans version of the site. And identical to the English site, here's the teacher dashboard with all the relevant information that you need. Everything is identical, just translated. Just to briefly show you the player login, identical as well. The players will log in using a username and password, and they're the options available to them in Afrikaans. Once again, all self-explanatory, really easy to use, really functional, really efficient, saves an enormous amount of time in executing the game. That, in a nutshell, is the website. I'd also like to direct you on the homepage to a 7-minute video, promotional video of me talking through the game from start to finish. Might not be a bad thing to show the children, as well as other teachers, they're going to be involved in the game, but not involved to your level. As I said earlier, it's really important that all the teachers in the grade buy into the game and give the kids rewards or give them fines throughout the game. So maybe show them the 7-minute video in a staff meeting so that they have an understanding of what it's all about. And finally, our support button on the far left at the bottom. Here you can email us, ask us any questions, and we'll get back to you right away. Of course, like us on Facebook, find us on Twitter, do all those good things, spread the news. We welcome you and welcome aboard Real Life for Kids.